Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. I appreciate you tuning in. I am recording this on a very rainy Sunday morning here in New York City. What's going on with me? My lead singer, Patrick, and I will be going into the studio to put the finishing touches on the upcoming Skip Lag singles later this week. I'm also planning to go and see my friends Goalkeeper, who are currently on tour with Calling All Captains. They're playing The Woodshed on October 3rd, this Thursday, I believe. Yes, October 3rd. And so I'm hoping to go and check that out as well. And speaking of Goalkeeper, making his third appearance on the show, guitarist Marc Juliano is back today. Me and Mark had a chat about the new song Black Hole, as well as the upcoming new EP that Goalkeeper are releasing on October 4th, called Pins and Needles, is when that will be out on October 4th. And we talk a bit about the new direction, not terribly new direction, but a slightly heavier take on the classic Goalkeeper pop punk sound that I discovered and fell in love with. So Mark and I love chatting with him because not only do we talk about the intricacies of recording and songwriting, but we also talk a lot about his work in the mental health field, which, as I'm sure you know, is something I think about a lot. These kind of balances in how we keep our minds right, especially in a industry that seems destined to permanently make creating art a side hustle for the majority of people who do it. But I am eternally dedicated to the cause of art is good for the mind, and I will continue to shout it from the mountaintops. And that's what I like when Mark comes on, because we talk about both of those things. And we're going to get into it right now. I'll also let you guys know if you are at all interested in finding any other way to support me or to support the show. You can give us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify to help us please the almighty algorithm. I would most certainly appreciate it. And you can also follow my band Skip Lag NYC on Instagram. That would be tremendously helpful to me personally and professionally. Thank you all so much for being here. And let's talk to Mark from Goalkeeper. I'm saying this because it's true. It's always fun to catch up with the members of one of my favorite bands, Mark. So I'm happy to see you again, man.
It's always awesome to catch up with you. You're one of our favorite people to get to see in Brooklyn.
Likewise, the feeling is absolutely more than mutual. I have not bought my ticket yet, but I will be getting a ticket for the next Captain's Tour.
Hell yeah.
Because you guys, like, I feel like you were kind of in the laboratory for a little while, and now this new EP is coming out, and you guys are going on like a massive, like a pretty intense tour with Calling All Captains soon.
Yeah, we leave actually this coming Monday. We leave for the first date, so their Captains is doing the same thing that they did in 2022, where they did like a 2-month tour. Because to come to the United States as a Canadian band, it costs a lot of money with like visas and stuff.
Yeah.
So what they do, since they're doing a lot of their headliners, is they'll do like 1-2 month tour, like a year, and kind of cover every which part of the country that they possibly can. So that like they're just making the most out of their visas in that sense. So we're on like the Midwest East Coast leg again, like we similar to what we did a couple of years ago, but this time we get to include a week in Eastern Canada, which will be a first for our band.
Nice. Yeah, I saw you're playing Toronto and Montreal. That's going to be really fun. The last time I was in Montreal, I saw a lot of like metal clubs and like metal stores in one part of the city.
Well, they're French Canadian, and Gojira is one of the best metal bands of all time. So
that is true. Did you catch the Olympics opening ceremony with Gojira?
Oh yeah, and like we just recorded a new song that didn't make the EP this past weekend in Richmond with the guy who mixed our record, which is Will Beasley, and the singer of House and Home, Pat, assisted produced on it, and we used the Gojira plugin. for the guitar amps. So it sounds like unnecessarily heavy in like such a cool way.
Oh, fantastic. Are you guys going to put that out as like a one-off single
That's
sometime?
yeah, like next year at some point. Um, it was a song that didn't make, and in this talks of the EP, like that's the first time we've really had a song that didn't make an EP that we felt really still felt really passionate about, and it was like something different for us, and we it didn't. You've heard the EP, so that song's more of like
Yes.
a hardcore two step with like a big like chorus, like heavy, like big, just driving kind of pop punk chorus. But the other parts are like a lot heavier, so it just felt very out of place on Pins and Needles. Um,
Hmm.
but we still believed in it, and we still knew it. There was a life to it. Um, and it just worked out that we got to work with Will and Pat on that, and we're super stoked on it. But next year.
Very cool. I'll look forward to listening to that. It's a interesting because there's always this idea of I used to think this when I was younger, like you write the songs and then when you have 10 or 12 that's the album. So the idea of like the curation process, but also having more songs than you need that are excellent, not a bad place to be in as a band, I think.
We yeah, for sure, and I will definitely say we aren't that band typically.
Yeah.
Like in Perfect, like so the last record, I Wish I Met You Sooner, there was only one song on that we liked that did not fit the record. And honestly, like even to this day, like we listen to it and we're like, it's cool, but we didn't have the same passion as like this extra song. But
Hmm.
and like Life in Slow Motion, I think there was one or two songs. Like I remember showing like Will and Kevin when we were doing that record, and we're like, "Oh, these are the other two songs." And but by the first verse, they were just like, "Nope, this sucks." Like, so we're typically we write very slow. We are slow writers,
Yeah.
and because I will say this in a way that's like I like about us, specifically Ryan and Cody with like lyric writing and stuff. Um, we don't just so some bands just like write like, oh, here's 10 songs to be like quickly popped out, and like what happens is like you start to kind of feel like they're all the same formula, and they sound the
Hmm.
same. And Ryan and Cody do a really good job at like really trying to differentiate the song. So like, okay, cool, like I know, and I usually will bring in a riff idea like that hasn't changed like all these past conversations we've had, like it's still just us three in this
Yeah.
rehearsal space. But I'll bring in like a riff, and then we've been really pushing ourselves specifically on this EP. Okay, we don't want to be an up the middle pop punk band. We don't want to just be optimistic. We don't want to be super positive. How do we push ourselves? And so, like with
Yeah.
Black Hole, and then the song on the EP called Salem Weather, same key, same starting chord, but like drastically different sounds of songs, and lyricism and
Yes.
stuff like that. So um, they do a really good job at making sure we're like, okay, we have four songs, but these are the four best songs. Like if we're writing something and we're not feeling it, we're not like jumping around the practice space, it just gets like, nah, moving on. Like clearly there's not as much there as like we were hoping for. So
Uh-huh. That's a good the test, like if you're like rocking out in the practice space, be like, all right, this one has some legs.
oh yeah, or like the shower. Like I'm a classic. Like pretend you're playing a show and playing the song like live, and it doesn't feel like you actually are in front of 2,000 people and they're screaming the lyrics. Um, Good litmus test for yourself.
Hmm. I've also found because I'm doing all of the socials for my band right now, if I can listen to the hook of a song like 30 to 50 times every day over the course of putting together like little funny bits for Instagram and TikTok, and still want to play that song when a show comes around, that's pretty good too, because I don't think you guys have this problem, but I've always I always think of like hair metal bands and like interviews with hair metal bands, and some of them always have a song or two that they're like, yeah, the label told us we need a single, so I wrote the song in 15 minutes and became our most popular song, and it makes me want to kill myself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love hearing because it's so funny because like those are the songs that we blast on the radio. Like all there's like, I mean, all the small things was that for Blink-182,
Yeah.
you know, and like who doesn't scream "Work Sucks"? I know when that song comes on.
Okay. I would love to ask you this. I feel like I am starting to relate to that song more as I get older. Even though my job right now is pretty good, I don't have a ton to complain about. But
Right.
I feel like as because I feel like Blink and I think a few of our other favorite bands are unique in that they've kind of stuck around for a lot of our lives. Like so, like they were with us when we were kids,
Hmm.
when we were young adults, and now that we're like grizzled, sophisticated, older, elder millennials, Mark.
Jaded.
So I feel like I like those songs for different reasons at different times of my life.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember listening to All the Small Things at 16, working at a CVS pharmacy, and being like, "This is really true. Like, I hate this job so much." But then
Right.
now I sing because I like my job too. Like for those who don't know, I'm a mental health therapist. Like I love it. I
Hmm.
help a lot of people, and it's super cool that I get to do that. I go on the road and stuff too. But it's work sucks. I know for me is more of like I like talking to my clients, but I would much rather be in like a studio somewhere or like playing guitar. It's just like the identifying that work is a necessary thing to pay these obnoxiously high bills that we experience in 2024.
Of course, yeah, exactly. There's always like a things are all right, but like if I could do a little bit less of this, that would be great.
Yeah.
But speaking of guitar, I'd love to let's talk a little bit about some of these new songs. So the first single Black Hole, I really want to ask you about the main riff of the song when it first starts in, because you're playing this like I'm trying to figure out if you're playing like just a straight power chord riff or if you're like hitting like a chord and then doing that octavey thing. How did that riff come about?
So one thing that I started to change with my guitar playing, being a three piece, is I'm playing
Hmm.
a lot more open chords and like inverted chords. So it's still like for those who want to know, like we still play in like drop C sharp, which is drop D half step down.
Hmm. So very heavy kind of
Yeah, like not
sounding
as heavy as
sounding
a day to
tuning.
remember a drop C, but definitely not as
Uh-huh.
like light sounding as like your typical drop D songs, in bands.
Hmm.
Um,
Totally.
but we call it the actually drop C sharp for those who want to know. It's called the New Jersey Standard tuning.
Because every pop punk band plays in that nowadays.
From yeah, half step down or like drop C sharp, like from New Jersey is like all those bands from Jersey like made that cool. But
Right on.
because we just can't sing. But we so I've been using a lot more like bigger, they call them cowboy chords kind of, but like I'll have the tonic note, which is essentially like the main note of the key. So I'll play
Yeah.
B minor with the D. So D major would be the tonic, and then I'll play the G major with a D on top of it, like an A with a D. Um, and then even like a D chord with multiple D notes in there, and or maybe like a
Hmm.
C sharp. And so what it does is it allows me to have like like a wider, like bigger sound, and it also allows me to capture the emotion of what the lyrics are more authentically versus just playing a standard power chord that can sound very like happy, like summertime
Hmm.
pop punk vibe. So
Yeah.
if I want to play a B minor power chord that has more of like a Blink-182, like What's My Age Again vibe, easy, boom, right here, 244. But
Yeah.
playing this B minor with the D note on top of it and like the high E allows me to have this more minor aggressive sound to match the lyrics and vocal style that like Ryan's bringing to these songs like Black Hole. And then the lead underneath is just a basic octave chord, just kind of like a swing, like a do 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 do.
Hmm.
Really like being really matched up with the kick and snare pattern. That was something. So we recorded this EP with Nick Bruzzese from Stories So Far, Man Overboard,
Yeah.
in Gradwell House in New Jersey, And one of the things that we really focus on in these songs is being a lot tighter with like the kick and snare pattern. So like, you know, Cody's doing that bam 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 bam, and like my lead is like following that. So it feels, so when I play that live, I'll start off with the chords first to kind of bring in the emotion, and then I'll
Mm-hmm.
end with the octave chord lead that I can now play with like more of the strings to kind of have a big sound. But because I'm
Yeah.
really matched up with Cody's drum pattern, it sounds a lot bigger than it would if I just played a standard like, you know, arpeggio lead or something like that.
Right, because not only are you playing like the entire neck of the guitar, which sounds like huge when you get like all of the strings in there,
Yep.
but then especially when you like really lock in,
Mm-hmm.
it naturally sounds better. Like that's the idea of for any like non-musicians. Like when a band talks about being tight,
Yeah.
that's kind of what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's like, imagine if someone wants to really do the test, like take a hammer and like drop it on the ground, and then take two hammers and drop them offsetting, so like boom boom. But then take them
Mm-hmm.
both and drop them at the same time, and recognize how much louder that sound is when they hit the ground.
Uh-huh.
So like that tightness just creates a naturally higher like volume and like more in your face sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to be really tight for that reason, outside of just playing on time together.
No, absolutely. Was Black Hole the first song written for the EP?
Shit, was it? Yes.
Because I kind of
Yes.
want, yeah, it was because I kind of want to track this. So if from when the last time we talked, so like I Wish I Met You Sooner comes out, which I love that record.
Thank you.
Dude, like straight up, I told Ryan, I told Cody, I love that record. So you play that, you tour that album, and then when did you guys start realizing when did you guys decide to start coming together for the next
Mm,
bit of songs? Was it going to be an album or was it always going to be an EP?
was always going to be an EP because we're no longer with Lost Music Collective.
Okay.
Our contract, excuse me, was fulfilled with the with I Wish I Met You Sooner,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to go independent. And
Gotcha.
we also, there's a lot of like backstory as to like why the heavier like sound and like darker lyrics came, which if we get to, I'll talk about. But it was
Mm-hmm.
a very conscious decision to go bigger and heavier. Like the resound, like the mantra of the band is like big songs for big rooms type vibe. Like we
Right.
just kind of envisioned ourselves at like a 5,000 person venue, like playing these songs. Like, do the choruses? Do we feel like we could hear all those people singing it back to us? Do we feel like we could see like 1,000 mosh pits happening and like a million crowd surfers? You know.
Yeah.
Um, but we also wanted to be very intentional with like the concepts that we were writing with. So, because we love everything we've done, um, but because of a lot of stuff behind the scenes are happening, like we did when we went to write like a positive, like our typical GK song, it just didn't feel right. Like I didn't, me and Cody and Riley, like I didn't want to write another fucking love song. You know, like
Right.
a little pissed off and shit. So, um,
Gotcha.
and yeah, so I would say like right around the spring, so like 2023, we really started to write again and start coming up
Mm-hmm.
with ideas and talking about our influences and the direction we wanted to go. We did a neutral snap tour, shout out those guys, in the spring of 2023, and we wrote like the first verse and chorus, the Black Hole, while in like outside the venue in Rhode Island on that tour. And
Oh,
then
sweet.
yeah, and we came back, and then um, that went through a few reiterations. Well, that was another thing for this EP. Like these songs, other than the Everything That's Ever Happened in New Jersey song, the other three went through a lot of changes, which was like the first time we've really kind of caught ourselves like having to make like consistent, like that chorus isn't strong enough, that verse isn't cool enough, like that intro is like too basic, like
Mm-hmm.
really pushing ourselves. Like if I showed you the beat, if I showed you the first draft of Black Hole and like Salem Weather, another song on the EP,
Yeah.
to like the final version, you'd be like, well, this isn't even the same song.
Right. It changed that much.
Yeah,
Wow.
which isn't common for us because like Sooner didn't change much except cutting out a chord in the intro. Car Wreck
Hmm.
didn't change at all, other than adding some auxiliary instruments like a piano. Talk About, just a couple lyrical things changed, you know. So like we haven't really had a situation like that before where we felt like we needed to, like, there was just like every time we would like play, we'd go back and like listen to the demo. We're like, there's just a better chorus. There's a better verse in this song. I know there is. We just have to keep like pushing ourselves to think about it.
Hmm. And when you get into moments like that, where the three of you are like, this isn't quite there. It needs this. How do you, like, you as a songwriter, like, push yourself to keep trying to find that what that chorus is without like banging your head against a wall?
But we do bang our head against the wall. So,
Okay.
so let me be very clear. It happens a lot, and there's a lot of self doubt and self deprecating language that you suck. You're not good at this. Um, but I think it's just one of those feelings that, like, when you know. Like
Yeah.
when we wrote, like, I remember so for Black Hole, like the second melody, the chord, sorry, the melody in the second verse changes from the melody in the first verse.
Yeah.
And Cody brought that in. I was like, I have this idea for the second verse, and I think it's like it's a little weird because it doesn't follow the first verse, but I think it's cool. Or like, okay, let's hear it. And it's just like the second Ryan got it, what we were playing, like over like that little single note lead, like riff thing I was doing. It was
Yeah.
like, nah, yeah, this is fucking it. This is it, 100%. Like you just know. There's just like this visceral feeling that you're like, yeah, nah, this is right.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's just, well, like, similar to like when you're just kind of hopping around in the studio, like when you're like really when something's like fun to play, and similarly, like, we've all had moments like when we listen to other bands and we're like, I connect to that. So like,
Mm.
it makes total sense to me. You should be able to do that with your own music that you play, especially if you got to go out and like travel the country and like sell it to the kids, as they say.
Yeah, I gotta play it every night. I better like it.
Hmm. Exactly. So, and 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 so, like, circumstances around like the writing of the lyrics, and again, you don't have to tell me all of
Mhm.
the gory details, but that's sort of like naturally, if you're like mentally in a specific place, is that where the heavier direction of these songs comes from?
Yeah, I mean, just I'm not. I won't necessarily talk about Ryan and Cody's experiences. I feel like that's for them to share.
Of course.
But like for me, there was just a lot of, like, we worked really really hard, and we were accomplishing a lot of goals. But there are just some things that we spent a lot of time on the road the last 2 years. Like we were averaging almost 150 days active on the road per year.
Yeah,
Uh,
you guys are really going for
yeah,
it.
between playing shows and just general travel days too, because like people forget, like it's not, if you start in Minnesota, it's not like you just are there. Like there's a day or two of travel beforehand, like sleeping in the van and spending money you don't have and things like that.
Right.
Um, but it was just a lot of anxiety if this was like the right thing. So like for me, like my wife started her PhD program, and so she's really busy. I get like for a day like today, it's a Tuesday, so like she left the house at 7 a.m. She's not gonna get back till close to 11 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
You know, and
Hmm.
like when I'm away, that's like things like the dogs in the house that don't get taken care of, and we have to rely on family to come up, or she has to adjust her schedule so she can be home, which is like, we talk about the sacrifices that you as a band have to make, but we don't. I feel like we don't talk enough about the sacrifices that people at home have to make.
That your family and the people around you make. That This is what I love about you, Mark, because this is stuff that I think greater culture does not mention very frequently,
Mhm.
and I love that you brought that up. I really relate to this in my own life. Like, when you're making sacrifices, people who love you and around you are doing the same.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my parents drive when I'm on tour, like for the five, like Monday through Friday. Either my mom or my dad are driving 50 plus minutes, close to an hour, just to let my dogs out for us, to then turn around and go home and drive another hour.
Wow.
my wife is cutting her schedule back, like not staying late and working on like with her advisor and stuff, so she can get home for the dogs and to take care of the house and you
Yeah.
know, sacrifice hanging out with friends, because like she's already been gone so long, she doesn't have me to like be home because. I mean, we like our dogs. We don't want them locked up in a cage for 10 hours. That's not fair to them.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, so and the money. I mean, it's like, I mean, of course, like there's always the money sacrifice, but there's also again like the time and like you being away. And I think the thing that really made me like kind of question like what are we doing this for? Like why are we consistently pushing ourselves and out here on the road and sacrificing all this time and money and energy and like things like that. We did
Yeah.
a tour March of 2023. We did like a Florida to Texas and back. It was like 2.5 weeks. And
Hmm.
like fucking 3 weeks prior to that, like one of our dogs passed away from like a kidney disease that he was fighting for like 5 years that we had him. And like
Hmm.
we've invested like thank get pet insurance. For those who are listening, get pet insurance so you never have to worry about money being like the factor for taking care of your pet. But
Yeah.
I mean, excess $100,000 worth of like money was spent taking care of him. Between emergency,
Wow.
like not like our personal money, obviously, like if you count the insurance policies and stuff and
Of
everything.
course.
And that was like my wife's best friend. Like everyone who has a pet, like that there's that dog or that cat, lizard, whatever. Like you feel like you just relate. Like there's like a connection there that's like you're not a dog to me. Like you're almost like a human in a dog body right now.
Yeah,
And
you're my friend.
yeah,
I think about it a lot like that too. Well, same like I was talking about my dad's dog Whiskey. He loves that dog. I don't know he's gonna be like when something ever happens to that dog.
yeah, and like I
I
mean,
get that.
and I know my wife's comfortable with me talking about because like she posted about it online, um, what he meant to her. But like, I mean, to this day, she's like at times can still be like a wreck with it because like, that's how much he meant to her.
Uh,
He passes, which is the hardest thing to ever have to do. You know, like
mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone has experienced euthanasia, but it's fucking terrible. Um,
Yeah.
and then I'm gone on the road for 2.5 weeks, like 3 weeks later. On
Jesus.
a tour that like arguably like we played in front of a lot of people who like loved us and we got to experience it, but there was so many times on that tour where I'm just like, how the fuck am I out here right now? Like this fucking Texas date
Yeah.
that we played in front of like 13 people, like I'm sacrificing being there for my wife for this.
Yeah. You almost feel like guilty in a way, and I feel like
Oh
that's
yeah,
another pull of an artistic pursuit. And obviously, like we're a little different positions, but
right.
there's always that point of like, well, you do art because it matters so much to you, but then like it takes you away from things that are and people that are important, and then yeah, you have that pull of like you feel like you're hurting somebody
Yeah.
by being away.
And like to my wife's credit, not one time did she say anything to me on tour. Like I wish you were home or like even
Mm-hmm.
when I tell like the show was like meh, meh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
she was like, okay, like shit happens. Like she like fucking championed it like the entire time. Like it was almost like she like put herself in that position. So it's like then like that sense of guilt comes on. I feel like in a way, like in a different way, where like instead of her like on the phone like in tears every day, she's like being so supportive. I'm like, you are like keeping yourself so mentally and emotionally strong right now to like navigate me being away. Like that's a sacrifice that a lot of people like wouldn't make for a situation like this. Like this isn't my full-time job that like if I don't do this we don't pay our bills. Like I got
Right.
I got one. So
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of like the messages behind the songs of like anxiety and guilt and just like kind of questioning everything. Like for me, like that was like a defining moment of like, okay, like if you're gonna do this, like you have to like do this. Like you're making not only are you making a lot of sacrifices, but like the people at home are sacrificing like so much. And like we're in that stage as a band where like we have so much ground to cover before we're like ever talking about being able to like pay a bill with this. And so
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like led into like for me anyway like the energy I brought to playing guitar the energy I brought now to playing like to live shows, the lyrics that I was bringing in or like suggesting, like a lot of that was like relating to that. There's the anxiety of hoping this all works out, and the guilt of being away, and all the things I kind of just like
Yeah.
shared in that rant right there.
Uh-huh. Well, it's almost like it sounds like you realized, well, if I'm going to make these sacrifices and ask those around me to make those sacrifices, I've got to really go for it.
Yeah,
I've got to like really just put my entire being into this thing.
yeah,
I understand that. I understand that completely. Let me also ask you this, as like a mental health professional, as someone and given my fields of like comedy and punk rock, I deal with a lot of undiagnosed mental illness. Um, when you have like anxiety, when you have anxiety like that, or just that sort of like, because I sometimes get like racing thoughts of like, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing enough. Like if I don't work hard enough, I get fired. I got to go back. It all leads back to me working at Kmart again sometimes.
mm-hmm.
So I don't know if your anxiety manifests quite like that physically, but when you get those like that feeling, how do you like navigate it and like talk yourself down? Talk yourself down.
I think I just try to reframe and just recognize like it's a process, right? Like the only way to guarantee that this doesn't kind of work out the way that I hope my like art career doesn't work out is to just stop. Like if I stop, that's the only guarantee that it doesn't work out, because I'm also then stripping
Right.
myself of any possibility of success in that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of remind myself like this is just part of it, right? And these are the moments, and like even if it doesn't work out to like where I'm like in my mid 40s and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna like music's not like that for me. Like I just know fully I'm not gonna have the regrets of like should I have tried, because
Yes.
I would have tried, and I would it would suck to not be able to get to where you want to be, but um, it's not gonna be for a lack of effort on like my end. Sometimes that's just how like life works out, but I can't control how I'm gonna feel or what the future's gonna look like. I can just control what I do now. So like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm feeling really anxious, like I don't know what's gonna happen, I kind of ask myself then too, like, okay, well, what am I doing right now to help this? Like, if I'm sitting in my house, just kind of like circulating thoughts, it's like, okay, well, if you want to feel like you're putting work towards something, email some people, pick up your guitar, write a song. I mean, you can't see because he's behind me, but my guitar is
Uh-huh.
always out of its case, like right next to me wherever I go in the house. So like, even if I'm cooking dinner and like an idea pops in my head, my guitar is like in arm's length to like grab.
Uh-huh. I do the same. I have a couple of guitars again just out of camera. I have an acoustic and then an electric.
Mm-hmm.
I got that I got earlier this year. So
Yeah.
I similarly like I like having a fidget. It's the guitar is my fidget spinner like during the remote days.
And also too, like I mean, I can't say enough of like the support system I have. Like my parents, I mean, fun fact about my parents: the first band I was ever in that wrote the most horrendous songs. My parents were like, drop out of college and pursue this shit. And I'm like, no. Like I had to be the voice of reason, but this isn't ready for that. No.
Yeah, it was like I need to. That's got to be for a much better band or much bigger opportunity.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean, it's cool to have parents that are like, they don't, my mom is, when I see her, she's not like, how's work? She's like, how's the band? You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty cool.
mm-hmm.
And then like, of course, like I said, like I mean, I've shared a little bit about how my wife, like the sacrifices she makes and support she gives. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't ask for a better partner than that, because it's really hard to be like, I'll see you in 3 weeks.
No, yeah. That's where you need another keyword. And again, something I've had to come around to is like partner. That's a big part of like any kind of successful like long term romantic relationship is again it's kind of a team effort, because life in is just very difficult in 2024. Probably more so than it needs to be.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
agree.
it just is. So so it's helpful to at least be able to see the beach when you're when you're going underwater a few
Yeah,
heads bottom. It's helpful to be able to see land, see
there you go.
the tunnel, so to speak.
I like that.
Um, who wrote the lyrics to Salem Weather? Was that you, or was that Ryan or Cody?
Cody.
That was Cody. Okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna have to have him on again too, because that one really stuck out
Yeah.
to me as well.
He wrote. So this was a really cool too. Like the lyrics are super collaborative this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they always are, but any song, like for example, Sooner was like 95% Ryan, and Car Rap
Mm-hmm.
was like 95% Cody, and like Talk About was like 100% Ryan. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so this time it was very much like, Ryan. Like there's the song I mentioned it earlier. Everything that's ever happened in New Jersey for short. So I'm just gonna say that from now on.
Okay.
Ryan wrote majority of those lyrics, but Cody wrote a majority of Salem Weather and Black Hole, and then Ryan came in and like edited pretty heavily. So like
Okay.
to talk about Salem Weather, the way the chorus goes, I don't know why I have hope. What I used to have, fuck, I can't remember the lyrics. Anyway, not my job.
It's all good.
but
Yeah, it's his job.
Ryan wrote the chorus to that, and like I wrote the line, "Bring it back to the way I used to believe I had loved ones who had faith in me." Because that line's kind of like paying homage to like what every artist and band like knows. Like after a while of you trying, you get those people in your life who you thought supported you, and then like they stop coming to the shows, or they say like, "You still doing the band thing? Like why? Like when are you gonna give it up?"
Yeah.
Like you weren't the same person who told me to like run for it. Like yeah, but that was 5 years ago. Like you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so Cody wrote like majority of like the verse. Like he wrote the bridge lyrics, the verse lyrics, and then Ryan flew it on home with that chorus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that chorus is super impactful, and that line that you just mentioned, very much in line with what we've been talking about today, is this idea of the artist support system.
Yep.
Like it does, none of this exists on its own. Like everybody has to have uh like you need a crew. You need, or to call back to 14 or Will, you need some juggalo homies.
Yes,
You need that.
you need it. Yes.
Another song that I never thought I would like revisit and like feel really deep about, but more so now, because the other things, like adult friendship is difficult. I have found. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like just trying to make a friend like in like your 30s it's weird. It's difficult.
It is. There's more distractions, and people really start to like kind of dial in their routine, and then like as a new friend to that person, that changes the routine a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it can be really difficult to make friends. That's why like I also love having like outlets like music, because I've made some of my best friends ever just touring with bands, playing shows, finding those connections with people from all over this country and even world. You're like, I never thought, I'd have a connection with someone in like Australia, you know, um,
Uh-huh.
which is super cool, especially over something like your song. Like that's super cool.
Yeah, that's the most important thing I think to do if you make art, is to have those little moments with people that see it or hear it or experience it in some way. That's what I think keeps the whole human thing running a lot of times.
Yeah, I agree.
um are you going to any, so you mentioned earlier you're going to some new places on this tour. Are you going back to any other cities that you're really excited about going back to?
Yeah. So we've only been to Minneapolis once, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm excited to go there again, which will be super sick. The first show was awesome. So excited to see what it's like coming back with a band like Calling All Captains.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit has become one of our favorite cities to play. Like that, I can't speak enough about that audience. Like those people have come out to every Goalkeeper show in like the Detroit area, like again and again. Like it's the same people, if not more people, um, which is super cool, like to see. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and then Philly will be really fun because we dropped the EP the day of the Philly show, so it's kind of serving as like an impromptu like EP release show at the same time.
Oh,
Um,
that's beautiful timing. Yeah,
well,
that's
yeah,
great.
purposeful. um,
I'm
uh,
making notes for my own self. So
yeah, it was because we knew Philly was that Friday, so when we are doing like the distribution for the EP, we're like, you know, let's just have it come out on the day of the Philly show. Like that's super cool. You know,
yeah.
we've never done that before. We've always had it come out and then played an EP show like a month or two later.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Philly will be really exciting for that. We love Brooklyn, of course. Can't say enough about Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will be there. I will be there.
Hell yeah. And then yeah, so I think those are. I mean, every city we're excited to because I feel like every city has like a people, like a group of people or bands that we don't get to see unless they come to Philly or we go to their city.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the ones that like stick out are the ones like I mentioned that we're really excited to go back to and rip.
That's fantastic. Have you changed up your live setup much in the last couple of times we've seen each other? This is very nerdy for anybody listening to this, but this is what I love to talk with Mark about.
I
Um,
have actually. So I still play the Orange 412 because that's the best cabinet in the world.
Great.
I no longer play the red like Les Paul standard I've had for a while. I have it. I'm never getting rid of that. But
Mm-hmm.
we were having a lot of tuning issues on tour, but with guitars, so I actually upgraded to Evertune on a few of my guitars. So for those who don't know,
Oh yeah.
it's a bridge that basically keeps your shit in tune, no matter the weather, how much you move the strings, or anything like that. So we don't bend strings, we don't play a different tuning, so it's just so stable. I just set it and forget it, and like I've gone like a week and a half without having to tune my guitar. Sick. um,
That's awesome.
yeah, and so I have that, and then was I playing the TH30 or the Rock Reverb head when we played?
I think you might have had the rock reverb.
Okay, well I'm on the Rock Reverb still, but it's sitting on my couch back here. I haven't dove into it yet, but I did just get a quad Cortex.
Oh, I am. How are you liking that
I have not
so
opened the
far?
box yet.
Amazing. I've seen that all over the place. That thing is has definitely one of the like coolest guitar gadget of the last few years.
Yeah,
So
all of my favorite bands, 4 Year Strong, Stick to Your Guns. I saw them recently use it on the Hawthorne Heights tour. Um,
uh-huh.
the homies in Action Adventure, Brompton, their guitars were showing me his, and yeah, it just our sounds are becoming more and more diverse, and I don't like to do the pedal dancing like I used to anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's just like the freedom to be able to like combine your sound and make a bigger sound and all these different tones and setups
Yeah.
without having to go out and buy 15 pedal boards and put them all together um
Yeah.
and I mean part of us wants to we are thinking about like if how could we like travel more like efficiently, especially if we ever get an offer to like go to UK or like the West Coast. It's nice to be able to have something like that I can set up and just put in a guitar case and boom, I'm good, ready to go.
Yeah, because with the quad cortex, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you even need an amp. You could just like go direct into the house, right? With that and
Yeah,
and it sounds good.
you can. Yeah, if you have a good sound, if the front of house knows how to like mix it well, of course. I mean, you're always at the liberty of whatever punk rock sound tech you're dealing with. But
That's
I'm
true.
still gonna run a cab for the stage volume. But
Gotcha.
now it's just like I can put in a guitar case. Like let's say we get an offer to go to Los Angeles. Like I can throw it in a guitar case and then just talk to whatever band and be like, hey, can I just borrow a 412 or a 212 cab?
Mm-hmm.
plug it right in, and boom, and I have my tone that I want.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I do. I try to kind of do the similar on like on a budget with the Sans amp, because I just like rocking up with my bass in the gig bag, and then the my three pedals to,
yep,
again, whatever dingy kind of punk rock space that we're playing,
yep,
and just being able to click a button and have it sound pretty close to how it sounds when we practice.
yeah. Yeah, I'm
Right
super
on.
excited. I just haven't dove into it because it's new technology to me. I'm not the most versed in this
Yeah.
world, like the amp simulators, like Kempers and stuff. So um, I have to refrain myself until I get back from tour to really dive into it. Otherwise, no one will see me for like 4 days.
I know what you mean. It's just like, oh, it can do this. Oh, and it can do this. I think you can run like multiple guitars at the same time off of it. Like,
Yeah, our buddies in Telltale, they have their guitar and bassist like running through the same line basically. So like they can just run through like one quad cortex, and it's like it splits the sounds out to different directions. I don't know. I'll find
no,
out.
that's right on.
But what I like too, which is really cool, is like there's a way that you can also utilize like when we record, we use my orange, but we also use a lot of different amps like Marshalls and Saldanos and 5150s and things like that. So it's cool what I can do that I'm really excited to dive into and see is I can
Mhm.
grab two different heads that I like love the sound of, like the Saldano SL100 and like the Orange Rockiver basically, and I can
Yeah.
put them on the same line in the quad cortex and blend them. So it's like I have two amps, like you do in the studio, where like this rhythm track is with this guitar, this or amp, this rhythm track is with this amp, and then you can blend
Mhm.
that tone to have like that more unique sound than just a straight up Orange or Saldana or Marshall sound. You can actually like really get pretty invested in like, oh, I can have like these two different amps running, you know, essentially, and really give yourself like a pretty unique like thick tone.
Yeah, because usually like one amp is pretty good at doing like one kind of style or sound, another amp's good at doing the other thing. So if you can put the two together, you can kind of get the full sonic picture
Yep.
by blending the one thing.
Yeah, we're really trying to enhance like our live sound and presence. Like Ryan's still running his like bass terror and like the Ampeg, but with bass, I feel like it's really about just finding that consistent tone that
Yeah.
takes up the low end perfectly. But Cody's like really made sure like his cymbals and like different snare and like heads and stuff sound really cool. And like now with me with the quad, like I don't think if I use it, it'll be for like one show at the end of this year, but I'll probably end up using it more so for the tours next year because I really want to take time
Mhm.
to figure it out. Um, but it's just again just bringing like what is differentiating us from just being another band that rolls up with a couple guitar cabs and some guitars and plates. Like it's cool that we can do that and sound huge. Like people have very graciously commented on about us on, but there's still a level of like, okay, well, how can we differentiate ourselves and bring something a new element to our live sound um, that just makes it that much better for not only us but mainly for the people who are like coming out and supporting.
Yeah, exactly. Like setting yourself aside from every other band on the bill, especially for folks who are not part of the Goalkeeper family just yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like we've even experimented with like front of house engineers too. Like in our holiday shows last year, we had a friend of ours, Adam, who flew out from he did the sound for us, Eternal Boy, and Driveways on like those holiday shows.
Uh-huh.
Um, and like if you listen to the videos from him mixing our sound live, like dialing us in, versus like your standard playing at the same size venue just elsewhere, it's so much better. And we played the church in Philadelphia, so for those who don't know, it's notoriously horrendous. It's notoriously sounds horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, was that the first Unitarian church in
yeah,
Philly?
yeah, the one with the
Yeah, I saw your live video from that of doing Sunshine.
yeah, and like everyone came up to us and was like, I have been to 1,000 church shows and never once did a band sound good, let alone great.
Uh-huh.
And so like that stuck out for a lot of people. Like, holy shit, this band like figured out how to make the church sound good. We didn't. Adam Lusk, shout out.
Uh-huh.
But we're doing that on this tour too. Like, we have a friend Peter coming out from Minneapolis to like try it out for like future shows and stuff. And so like just like looking in ways like that makes a difference. Your sound is bigger, it's louder, it's more balanced, it's better. Our friend David Earl from Atlantic City always mixes us anytime we're down in the Atlantic City area. And like you can
Cool.
always tell that's like a huge difference in our sound live. That again, it makes the audience like enjoy the set that much more. So
No, totally. And then when you pile on the great songs, that's a absolute winning recipe, dude. I would love to ask you about like touring and things that you wish you knew at the beginning of the tour that you learned by the end of the tour. And it could be this most recent one, or it could be like another one. What is something that you learned when it comes to being in a touring band, like
ooh.
practically?
Um, if you can get a job that you can work from the road, do that.
Yes.
Just because you eliminate any financial stress is just so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think some of the stuff because when you learn like the tour hacks, right? Like how to sleep comfortably in the van, how to like
Mm-hmm.
plan a fitness membership so you can get a shower every day, so you feel clean, you feel refreshed. Um,
Yep. Yeah, I know the Planet Fitness one. What's the hack for sleeping in the van?
the smallest people get the smallest spaces, and they just have to deal with it.
Good idea.
Um,
And how do you sleep in a van like safely? Where do you park so that you can sleep in a van?
uh, Definitely like the Planet Fitness parking lots is typically where we post up. Um,
Okay.
we'll try to be kind of near like a light post because with the cameras outside, if someone tries to do something, they can have a more clear image of whoever's trying to mess with you. Um,
Got it.
yeah, never on the side of the road like you see those tractor trailers do. Rest
Mm-hmm.
stops, stuff like that. Places where like you see people sleeping typically. Um, and then yeah, we have our system in the van that works for all of us, which is like super sick. Like it's basically, and it's so funny because the first couple tours we ever did, like no one slept well, and now it's like I feel sometimes I sleep better in the van than I do at home. So
Wow.
just because you're so
Now
used
that
to it, and like you have to fall asleep, like you like I have no choice. Like I have to fall asleep to wake up and drive 8 hours. Like get to bed.
mm, yeah, no, totally.
Yeah,
That's
but to answer your
man.
question, like I think. Oh, okay. So years ago, we toured the band, and we were notoriously the band that would show up to like we would get to a venue super early, get good parking, and then we wouldn't leave. So sometimes we'd be at a venue like 3 hours early, and we were just I don't
Uh-huh.
know why, but we would just always be like, I don't know, like do we have time to actually walk around, explore the city? Like what if we have to rush back and da da. Da. And the band we were
Mm-hmm.
touring with, really showed us how to kind of like have fun and like embrace the town that you're in. You don't always have that opportunity. Like if you have a long drive and you have to be there by 4 and you're getting there at 4.
Yeah.
But the times that we like, for example, from Milwaukee to Chicago is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We will 100% get to Chicago early and go to super cool places like Chicago Music Exchange and get some authentic pizza and like, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like I think that was the thing to I learned is really embrace where you're at. Even if you think it's a shitty town, sometimes those shitty towns can be like the ones that you're still talking about years later for like awesome reasons.
Yeah, I just was talking to some of my friends in this band that Skip like played with called The Challenged that are based in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and they were telling me these after like crazy stories of late we opened for this band, but they would tell me about these like runs they would do where they would play these like really tiny towns where shows just don't usually
Mm-hmm.
come through, and they would say those are some of like the most memorable shows. And I'm from like the woods basically, so I can have fun everywhere. So there's always like some kind of Stars Hollow kind of joy that you can find even in really small towns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love going to Toledo, Ohio. Providence, Rhode Island's really cool. Corbin, Kentucky is one of our favorite small town America places to go to because it's just, again, it's like one road in, one road out, but it's like so cool and it's just so much fun and food is great. Brownsville, Texas was one of the most memorable shows for us like ever. Um, and so it's like,
Wow.
the big cities are sick. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like anything bad about like New York or Chicago and stuff like that, um,
Oh, I got you.
but like you definitely like if you go and like actually embrace where you're at and like walk around, explore, eat some food, get some coffee. Um, Bill, our photographer, is really good at keeping tabs on like what's cool to do like in a city. Um,
Uh-huh.
like the really cool food spots or like the cool thing. Like one of the best experiences we ever had, we were traveling from Dallas to Oklahoma City, and we actually ended up driving. Like Bill looked it up, and we saw that we were right next to the Tiger King Zoo. That was like debunked. So we made a pit stop to see that, and it was eerie as shit. But it was but that was like cool, right? Like who would have thought like some random town in Oklahoma, like that's the thing that occupied all of our Netflix subscriptions from like March to June of 2020.
2020. No, absolutely. Oh, well, if you go through, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I think it's Missouri somewhere. You can find the like that because he has that documentary about chimp people. You can find that lady's
Oh yeah.
complex. The other fun thing, I don't know if you when you do get out west, if you ever play Albuquerque, because I've talked to some friends who live in Albuquerque, which does have a very cool arts community. You can drive by the Breaking Bad house and get yelled at by the current owner who lives there.
Oh, I fully plan on doing that. We actually we tried to take pictures of the Amityville house on Long Island, but there's a lot of signs that get away. So
Mm.
we were cowards.
Yes. Yeah, similar with this house. Like if she has like cones and stuff out, like and like there's tons of videos of like influencers trying to go there and her like running after them to
I don't
like
blame.
people.
I don't blame her though.
I no, I don't either. Like people kept trying to throw pizzas on my roof. I'd be annoyed. I'd be
Yeah,
annoyed.
or like the police song. What is like they sing the phone number.
I
Eight
can't
six
remember.
75309.
Oh yeah. Oh, Tommy Two Tone. That's a Tommy Two Tone song. Yeah.
Oh, Tom.
8675309. Jenny.
Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that was a real phone number for someone.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, and he just kept getting random calls.
Just random calls constantly.
Oh man. But yeah, so I think that's the thing is like now we're seasoned at it, but like before I could definitely go back and be like, oh man, we hit some places that were really cool that I would love to like go back to and like really explore with like this like new idea, like new way of like touring and really appreciating. Because again, going back to our previous conversation of like what's this all for, like putting your all into it isn't just playing the songs well, writing good songs and playing good shows, but it's also like embracing like what you get to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole reason to do it, is to go and see new places and experience it. Like touring, I have always thought even though I've never gotten to really, I've traveled, but I've never toured. It's traveling in a certain sense. You just have a show to play too. So as much as you can, you got to make it worth. You got to make it an adventure.
Yeah, which is arguably like, I mean, it's kind of, it's funny. It's like, oh man, I really hope I get to see like I'll more likely go to Denver, Colorado because we toured there before I just take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something my wife kind of likes because she'll say like, where should we go on vacation? I'm like, well, she's like, where are cool spots you hit on tour? I'm like, oh, Virginia Beach is actually pretty dope. Like, if we want to go there for a beach trip, or New England's sick. We can go up to Maine, and or oh, I've been to Nashville 4 times. Like, let's go to Nashville, and I can show you all the cool spots we've been to, and like, so she kind of gets something out of it too. She's like, all right, cool, like.
Yeah, like you're like not only are you the pop punk mental health counselor, you're pop punk Anthony Bourdain. That's that's what you are.
There you go.
And I can't wait to hear how more about how the tour is coming. So I want to make sure that we let people know. So you're going on so the single Black Hole is out now. The EP release show for the Pins and Needles will be on October 4th.
Yep.
And you are starting next week the tour with Calling All Captains.
Yep. We start the 24th in Minnesota, and then we end October. We end our shows with them October 10th in, I think it's like Barrie, Ontario.
Very cool. So where can people go to get more info if they want to get tickets?
Goalkeeperband.com. That has the links to our merch, the tickets, socials, music, videos, the whole nine, like all one nice landing page.
Very cool. And I'll say this to anybody listening. I've heard the whole EP, which is I appreciate that I get to hear the EP before everyone else does. It's really great. Like, it is still very much you guys, but you're hitting that's sort of like that you're hitting what you're trying to do. You're trying to play, like, you're playing very tuneful pop punk with very heavy parts and very like emotionally mature lyrics. I really I say this each time we chat, Mark, but I love Goalkeeper's lyrics because they are thoughtful and they look inward as opposed to just blaming everyone around them.
Yeah, I think I love that Ryan and Cody push themselves. Like one fun fact is that we've never used the fuck in a song that's ever been released, because that's something where it's like, why, like it, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's really like that's like a funny example, because I'm the guy that writes the lyrics, like F you, F you, F you, and Ryan and Cody are like, no, we have to be a little more introspective than that. Fine.
And that's why you all are where you're at and doing such cool things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, dude, I will have you on this podcast until I stop doing it, whenever you guys want. It's always a thrill to talk to you, Mark, and I look forward to hanging out in person in Brooklyn pretty soon.
Thanks, man. I always appreciate it.
It's always great when Mark stops by the show. I love getting to chat with that guy. I feel like he is like sort of like a kindred spirit in terms of like people I know within the music community. So, folks, check out Goalkeeper's new EP, Pins and Needles, which is available everywhere you get your music on October 4th, and check out goalkeeperband.com for everything related to them. They are currently on tour with Calling All Captains now, so make sure you go see if they're coming by your city, get some tickets like I will be doing. And if you enjoyed this and think you know a friend who would be interested in listening to this podcast as well, you can send them to awesomedisaster.com. That has got links to everything related to me and what I do. You can follow me on Instagram, willcarry23, and you can also follow Skiplag NYC on Instagram and check out our first song, Rhode Island, which is available now everywhere you stream your music, but it will soon not be the only Skiplag song you can listen to. So make sure you follow us on your preferred streaming platform. And if you want to go a little bit further in support of the show, you can also check out our Patreon as well as our merch store, which is also available at awesomedisaster.com. I appreciate you all so much for being here. I hope you continue to have an excellent spooky season, because October is right around the corner, which is crazy to me. And that means the election is coming up soon. And I really hope that we don't go back, because we are not going back, just so everybody knows where I stand. And I hope you guys are being informed and are going to do the research, make your voting plan, because it's important. And I will see you folks next week between Awesome and Disaster. Register to vote.